Socialism began in France despite the fact that they lagged far behind Britain in the Industrial Revolution. Some of the reasons for the formulation of this new philosophy was the rise of laissez-faire, as well as the modern industry and the political revolution in Paris. Socialism arose largely due to the economic and social consequences of the revolution. The conditions workers had to live in during the height of the Industrial Revolution were not up to par and needed to change, according to the socialists. Socialist thinkers imagined a utopia that had a sense of community and everyday life that was filled with economic equality, economic planning, and regulation of property. The government was to rationally organize the economy and not depend on destructive competition to do the job. Early socialist thinkers also wanted all the classes to be relatively equal economically and socially. This was contradictory to the actual conditions during the Industrial Revolution, where there were major gaps between the lower and middle classes. They also believed that private property should be strictly regulated by the government, or that it should be abolished and replaced by the state or community ownership. They believed that the key to progress was the proper social organization of society. Of the three types of socialism, industrial socialism said it was possible to have a productive, profitable industrial enterprise without exploiting workers. The person heading this type of socialism, Robert Owen, set out to prove his thesis by setting up multiple industrial communities. French workers cherished the memory of the radical stage of the revolution and became viciously opposed to laissez-faire. Because of this, workers favored communal action and government involvement in economic life. Thus, the ambitions of workers and utopian socialists were parallel to each other, and a socialist movement developed in Paris in the 1830s and 1840s. Count Henry de Saint-Simon was an early influential socialist thinker. He believed that the key to society was a proper social order that required the parasites to give way to the doers. The parasites were people like the court, aristocracy, lawyers, and churchmen. The doers were people like the scientists, engineers, and industrialists. The economy was to be planned by the doers, and it would be pushed forward by undertaking huge public work projects and forming investment banks. He stressed a highly moralistic society where the poor were helped by every social establishment. Charles Fourier was a lonely, saintly man who envisioned a mathematically exact utopia made up of 1,620 people. He was an early proponent of the total emancipation for women. He thought that young single women should be sold to their husbands for dowries and other financial benefits. Many middle-class men and women thought his ideas to be appalling and immoral. A journalist named Louis Blanc focused his socialist concepts on practical improvements. He advised workers to call for universal voting rights and to take control of the state peacefully in his book, Organization of Work. He believed the state should fund government-backed workshops and factories to assure full employment. Pierre-Joseph Proudhon was a self-educated printer who wrote a booklet entitled What is Property? He thought that property was nothing more than theft. He thought that property was profit that was taken from the worker, who was the source of all fortune. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels were influential German socialists that wrote the Communist Manifesto. Marx viewed common socialist opinions, such as the state helping the poor, to be naive. He believed that society was split more distinctly than ever before due to modern industry. He called the middle class the bourgeoisie and the modern working class the proletariat. Marx predicted that the proletariat would overcome the bourgeoisie in a violent revolution. His ideas united sociology, economics, and all human history in a broad and daunting organization.